Hey folks, it's Brian. I got back from work after getting back from GenCon. I couldn't get a flight out till first thing Monday morning. So I didn't take my standard throat lozenges for my first two games. So my throat was trashed the whole weekend. Doing fairly well right now. It kind of healed up, but you can feel, yeah, you can hear that nasty stuff in there. Now that's just sore throat. It's not the crud. So anyway, Gen Con this year, I ran full time for Chaosium. So I ran 2 games on Thursday, 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday, and then 1 game Sunday morning. And this year, I was really disorganized. Chaosium, since we ran full time, they put us up in a room. So I was sharing it with 2 other guys. So you don't really have that private space to record videos during the day, right? And I was going to try and possibly see if I couldn't find a quiet place at Gen Con to record during the week, but that wasn't going to happen either. We were given, well, Chaosium was given 3 separate little conference rooms. We added 2 to 4 new tables for Gen Con this year, but they run till midnight, and they kind of stagger between the Runequest and the Call of Cthulhu stuff so that it's not as noisy all the time. So I didn't do any recording whatsoever. So I'm going to try and do a little kind of scatterbrain recap here on all, 2, 4, 6, 7 sessions. Well, the first day I ran Darkness at Roomgate twice. In both parties, they had Vichy, and they ended up doing spirit combat with a diseased spirit on the Rune Lord, or the Lord of Roomgate. So they're able to heal him, which was always a good thing. One of the parties tried to do this whole, they volunteered, I think it was Vichy that volunteered to, sure, I'll join the healer cult, and he followed off with the fellows, and then the hunter Nathan, try to track and be silent from behind there, and then everybody else kind of followed behind that. They get to the healer house, and everybody gets, all the NPCs get greeted properly and kind of talk through that. She gives them kind of a blessing, touching their face or their shoulder or something, right? And when it comes Vichy's turn, he's kind of hesitant about letting her touch him. But I believe he did, in fact, let her give him a blessing. Then she talks about how if he wants to initiate into the cult, that he needs to not tell keep secret or sacred everything happens here and afterwards, and to not tell anyone, and then to sacrifice the magic points. And he seemed to be going along with that. And then I mentioned she wants 10 magic points. And we kind of discussed about how normal worship ceremonies take 2 or 3 magic points, right? At that, he freaks out, turns and runs out, looking for the party, right? And by then, the party's kind of caught up, partially at least. So they rush up, Nathan was close enough. He ran up to check out what's going on. He looks inside the house. Well, at this point, this little one-room shack is empty. So they kind of go in and look around, and the back door's been closed, but it's not latched. So they go out and they start doing some search rolls, and they find some search tracks, and they follow those out and around, and it gets to the main thoroughfare kind of thing, and that they lose them at that point, right? So what had happened, because the priestess she's a bit of a coward. I mean, if she gets caught, she's booking out of town, right? So she split as soon as that guy took off out of the thing. She took off out the back, and her followers followed her out the back, and then she left. And the followers kind of go, well, and they left too. So the party kind of decides to go out back, and they were told about this copse of trees thing, and started looking around. Well, north there's like copse of trees that there's 2 hours, 2 hour walk away, right? So that's like 7 miles, probably more closer to 6, but still. So they are walking out there, and they kind of look for um, ambushes and that kind of thing. So they're being, kind of concerned about things happening. They get to the forest, and remember what the other party did, because the other party didn't deal with the priestess at all. So both parties get to the grove of trees on their own. And the first party, shoot, I don't remember. I just remember one combat. They go up and they kind of spread around, and they make kind of stealth rolls up. And the way I interpret that is, you move as quietly as you can until you make some noise, and then you stay back. So if you made a good stealth roll, you can get all the way up to the edge. If you didn't make a stealth roll at all, then you're kind of back in the tree still. And one of the players gets all the way up to the edge, and they talk about the whole stench thing and all that kind of deal. And he's kind of watching out, and he's going to make animal noises to let the other party members know there's something going on, because there's the bonfire, there's the shrine, the altar of bodies, and in this particular one, the ogre that had gathered the bodies, that's what happened. The other party followed the ogre out, and that was the part I was just thinking about. Okay, they follow the party out. The party follows the ogre out, so they're following behind the the wagon, right? Where's he going? Where's he going? He goes out to this copse of trees, and so as he goes in, they kind of set up an attack, and of course there's the stench thing, so they got to make the Constitution rolls, and one guy fails the Constitution rolls, so he's got this dry heave stuff, so he's at minus 20% for the entire combat, and they get involved with the fight. And I don't think we were able to finish that fight. I think we ran out of time. Yes, but during this fight, no, that was an idiot. That's the other. I need to take notes next time. Remember, memory check to self. Take notes right after the game. So there's combat involved. In one party, they're following the guy out, and they attack. And the other one, they're kind of spreading around, and they come through. And the ogre is transferring bodies from the wagon to the altar pile of bodies, right? The guy that snuck up, some of the brew make a listen roll. So it kind of, what's he doing over there? I was going to make the noise, right? What's going on over there? And the big brew sends a couple of the younger brew out to go check what's going on over there. So they go after there, and as they get closer to him, he jumps up and runs. So they chase after him, and we tried the little chase rules for that. And one of them fumbles, we fell, and he's out, and the other one eventually got way behind. So that player is out of the grove of trees, right? And I don't remember if I rolled a die or just kind of said in the back of my head, check for a certain time for him to come back. And so he knows he's out of the fight for a while. When the brew chase after that player into the woods, there was another player who was nearby and got to see that. So he comes out. So combat starts ensuing with the brew down by 2 initially, and the players down by 1. And I may be getting these two combats confused. Sorry. One of the players has got a composite bow. It's not the hunter, because the hunter in the first party was the nauseous one. This was not the hunter. It was somebody. The other one's got a bow, shooting at the guy on the cart, right? Couple of rounds of that. The guy in the cart goes to his cart, gets his bow, starts shooting back, and he's shooting once. Well, he's trying to cast speed dart, but he was unsuccessful for the first 2 rounds. But he's still shooting his bow, right? So he's shooting his bow just once around, but finally gets his speed dart on there for a shot. And when that starts happening, the other guy's bow changes weapons and moves up to melee, and then the ogre, the cart guy, gets his shield and mace out and starts meleeing back, and he keeps hitting towards the end of the round because he's trying to get his bludgeon on, and it takes him forever before he finally gets his bludgeon on. Meanwhile, the other players are fighting throat frog guy and the big brew and the obsidian one, and she is tough. She's fighting 2 weapons because she's got 6-point skin. She's not really too worried about repairing and stuff. And so she's whacking on this other guy and takes him down. In fact, she tries to actually kill him, right? And because he's like at 0 hit points or something like that. And so she does the next round. She does an attack just at him, right? Plus 40 bonus and all that kind of stuff. And so she's over 100. She's trying to get that special, that increased special or increased crit. Doesn't do so, and ends up hitting him in the arm. He's got plate there, so it skittered off. Didn't do much. I need to look into how I want to run that in the future. But that all combat ends with the Obsidian Girl still up, the Big Brew still up, and 2 of the players down. That's when we ran out of time. In the other one, Vishy's on his llama and is chasing after the Obsidian Girl. She gets hurt, and so that kind of scares her, so she goes to run. She's trying to cast magic on herself as she's running, to heal herself up, that kind of thing. And Vishy's kind of chasing along on the llama, doing the jab with the lance. So she starts to parry and ends up taking his lance out because she's got blade sharp on both of hers. And then we got this. He had the llama kicker. I'm thinking, okay, he's cavalry trained, so he's not going to panic in combat. You have to make your ride rolls. But I don't know if the animal can just plain attack on its own. That's something, as I remember reading, as I was double checking afterwards, it doesn't really discuss that much in the mounted combat rules about the animals being able to attack on their own, in addition to all the other combat going on and stuff. So I'm a little iffy on that. But I let him do it. Of course, it does 3d6 damage. Although you gotta wonder if they're both going at the same speed. He's just kicking. Well, that's side, right? I don't know. Maybe that because that's darkness at the rune gate. So I had 3 Karlmans that I ran this weekend, and so I'm going to get these all confused as well. But essentially, everybody goes up, visits with the ghost, figures it out. A couple of them make a good, roll against the ghost. She gives them 5 days, that kind of thing. The other party didn't even bother doing that. They go to town, and in one of my, I think it was the second game, I came across in the book, in the scenario write-up, it talks about the players having their own background information, and that's what I remembered. I had cut slips out for my previous game, so I could just hand them out, right? So I have to pull up the PDF, and I'm looking through there, and it's almost all the information that you learned going to the different places. And so I went ahead and read it out to everybody. You know this, you know that, you know this, you know that, and then they actually start doing research and talking to people and say, oh, he tells you, he reiterates this piece, he reiterates that piece. You find this in the temple, or you know that, almost a complete waste of time. Either just give them their information or make them go to town and do the search rolls, because doing both is a duplication of effort. So the party that I read the parts out to, and they already knew everything. So the next game after that, I said, no, do the research, find out the information, that kind of thing. But it's key that they contact. Well, it says in a couple other spots that if they ask about survivors of Boldholm, you can send them to Goradan, the weapons master. But specifically, Harmath's grandfather, the Storm Priest, said, "Hey, check out this guy. He survived the Boldholm campaign." So unless they're specifically asking for that, they've got to get to the grandfather. And so there's some, not railroading, but one-way efforts to get through all the information, because you've got to get to Garleman to find out about Illyria and everything else, right? So I think one of the party already knew the party information. One of them mentions Garleman, so they check down there and get with him. And that's where you do your first kind of intro combat. And the first time it just ran on and on and on. And ideally in my head, I've got, because there were two fighters there. There was Harmast and Vostor were there. So I had them pair off. And then the idea was you have Garridan and pair off the winner, right? It took so long to do just the pair off that we just quit after that point. And with the shield block and the swords can't get through after the second fight that I did with Carlman, single sword. You've got the wooden sword, you're parrying and attacking with it. It's easier to get through. And then the first game fight with that, we actually broke the sword, so we replaced it. That probably went too long. So for the second one, as soon as they broke the sword, we stopped that, because normally it's 3 hits, right? So you've got to get like a special and a failure kind of thing to actually get around and through, so all 3 have fights. All 3 get the Garleman information. Go check out Illyria. I fast talk through all the travel stuff. They spend the night in Whitewall? Wilmskirk. Spend the night in Wilmskirk. Next day they go up to the little town Spawn, and they go up and they find Illyria. And they interact with Illyria. And all the parts are pretty good in interacting with Illyria. Calling out before they get there. A few of them heard the tune. Some people recognize the tune. It's all fluff. It doesn't really matter that much, except for the last one, the Illyria's tail thing. And I believe each party, the last 2 parties, both had somebody who recognized it. I don't think the first one did, though. But then there's the D and now. The second and third party both had their Vichy character do second sight on her, and they saw that she was being possessed by a weak fear passion spirit. And they both engaged in spirit combat to get the spirit out and toss it back. Which I interpreted as a bonus on is she going to help or not afterwards. One party just could not make that charm roll, and there's not a charm skill apparently. The second group was looking for the charm skill itself and couldn't find anywhere. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna look through the character sheets again, find out who's supposed to have that specific skill to do. Because I know the first party was rolling something. Maybe it was one of the persuasion things. But the second party was looking for that charm, and they couldn't find it. But the first party just could not make that roll. And the second party made it off initially. And so she, gives them their information. They figure out what's going on with her and that sort of thing. And the next morning, the first party, she didn't go with them. The second 2 parties, she does. I did 3 cameras, yeah. And so, fast walk through. She points to the area. The first party tried to find a trail and they couldn't. The second party the first party didn't even bother. The second party tried to find the trail and couldn't. And the third party found it, or the second party found it. One of them found the trail, the others couldn't, and one even didn't try. So the other guys get the guide, and they all get up there, right? They get to the Vale itself, and one party finds the spirit storage crystal, and they start talking to it. It's insane. It wants to get out because it wants to actually take over the person, right? And so they let it out. And so we have spirit combat. But, spirit's kind of weak. It loses. And the second group didn't find the crystal, and the third group found the crystal, but they wouldn't talk with it. They just, okay, it's a spirit storage crystal. It's got 9 points of power, and it's got these spells. Good to go. And then we had the ghouls come out. This time I had the ghouls come from over the berm. They're coming from a far distance, coming up the valley, even though the thundering effects come from up the valley. So we got this mass combat with ghouls, and it takes forever usually to take them down. And they're fighting and fighting and fighting. And the first couple parties, we just didn't have time, so we just stopped at that point. We talk about, what's going on, the extra storage crystals and the wraith and that kind of thing. The third party, we actually ran over. It was Sunday. We're supposed to end at 1, and we went until actually like 2, I think it was, or maybe even 2:30. One guy did have to leave. He was playing Vostor. He had a place he had to get to, so he took off. But okay, we got the zombies out, and everybody's hacking them. And a zombie attacks, you parry the shield, and the attacking weapon takes damage. They were taking limbs left and right. We had a couple of the zombie or ghouls biting, but they can't bite through the shield either. And I think one of those even got damage to his head, kind of deal. So they're just, zombies down. The other party summoned an earth elemental, and then the earth elemental went through, crush, next one, crush, next one, crush, and took out a whole line of them. There were 2 off on one side that were involved with combat with Fasana, and the wraith pops up. Illyria takes off. In a previous game, Illyria missed her demoralized roll, so she was demoralized. But yeah, she was still fighting. She fought with her bow a couple of rounds, and then went to the spears. They closed in, that kind of thing. And Naaman on that combat sent his cat on the guy. I think he did the bear claw. That party did the bear claw. It was the only party that did bear claw. So this other party, they did the earth elemental, chopping through all the zombies. Vasana's fighting with a couple of ghouls over here, and 3 members of the party were out. Okay, Solari's got that magic, find magic matrix, right? So she's out trying to find magic. Well, if we look at the map, the scale on the map, it's like 150 meters across, and at least 100 meters deep. And the range of this thing's only 50 meters. So she's kind of going back and forth kind of thing. At least that's what I understood she was going to do. And then the other 2 were just kind of walking perimeter. Well, they side talking, they were still stick together. I didn't hear that part. So they had them all roll d6 to see how many rounds out they are from the actual combat. And that's when it came out. Oh, we're all together. We're with her. So we took her roll, which is 6. So they're kind of out for a few rounds. But I let them run to decrease that from 6 to 3 rounds. But I had them roll dex rolls to see if they might trip and fall, mist and rocky floor and that kind of thing, right? And they made all their dex rolls. It wasn't an issue. So they're running up. Ghouls are all but destroyed. The wraith is up, and in the scenario, the wraith's got access to all 4 of the storage crystals, right? But once the players take possession of the first one, she's got access to those 3. But the only real spells that she can cast, spirit magic spells. So she's got counter magic 4 up, and she's got something else up, and she can cast Dispel Magic 5. That she's got that capability, so she could suck down some magic points just doing Dispel Magic. I think that's what they've done. But because this wraith has wiped out every party I've played so far, I decreased her power from 24 to 21, and then I only left 2 storage crystals, Rion and the other one that everybody has a chance of finding initially, which decreases her extra magic points to 12 and 9, 21 again. But once the players grab that first storage crystal, she loses those magic points. So, and that spell. There's a couple spells there for too. So essentially, all she had is demoralize and befuddle. And the howling from the ghouls is demoralizing almost everybody anyway. Vasana in this scenario, she cast Fearless on herself, which then made her immune to the fear. So even though she already had it, she became immune to it, so it went away. A couple of the Solaras had asked about casting Souls to the Logical Mind because it affects mind acting. It helps protect you from mind affecting magics. My interpretation of that is, if you cast it beforehand, yes. After the fact, I don't think so. So Vasana is and Nathan and the cat are fighting these guys here. So the priestess tries to do a couple of befuddles, I think it was, which doesn't really do much either because the zombies are attacking, right? So that was a waste of a spell. And so she starts casting room magic, and so there's that earth elemental other second thing. So she summons the large darkness elemental and sticks it on Vasana and Nathan and Solara. Now it just so happens there's two zombies in that area, and one of them goes comatose, and the other just gets frightened. But Vasana is immune to fear, so there's no effects there. But it puts Solara down, and it was Foster, not Nathan. Foster down. Foster for 5, Solara for 10. Well, with all the rest of the combat going on, we'd actually go through 5 combat rounds so Foster can get up. But nothing's happened with that darkness elemental. She starts to move it out to Nathan because Nathan is shooting arrows at her, and he's got the crystal. Well, Nathan initially had the crystal, but she did something to him. I think it was Mind Blast, maybe, or something. So took him out. So Solara, no, the Earth Priestess. She's got a composite bow. She runs over, takes a. I would give him 1 round to find the crystal and get it because it's got fire arrow in it, right? So it does fire damage. So she starts firing these fire arrows, but they're all demoralized. So the odds of hitting aren't that great. But so she sends the darkness elemental to go get them, or her rather, Yanioth, to go get Yanioth. But as the darkness elemental is fleeing, Vasana gets another attack. But Vasana's been hacking this thing from the inside, right? Yeah, it's got a bunch of hit points, but 3-4 rounds later, it's gone. These elementals feel weak to me. You can kill an elemental, I think, too easily. And that's an issue we run into with Fainting Spirit and the Loon, right? So he kills the Dark Elemental before get to her, and the Vostor by this point is up, and he summons his Fire Elemental. So they stick the Fire Elemental on her, and she's doing spirit combat with Vichy at this point. She did somebody else earlier, Harmast earlier and did the intelligence strain on him. I moved to Vichy to do the intelligence strain, but he made his roll. And this was another piece about, okay, spirit combat. Can you do that at range, or do you need to be touch? I was to dig through my books. I couldn't find anything earlier. When I was first running this, I was doing it at range. She sees you, bam, bam. Minus 11 intelligence, minus 11 intelligence, minus 11 intelligence. And so I'm figuring that's way too powerful. Maybe you've got to actually be on the Hexa. So she moves up to the characters to do spirit combat. And so she did Harmast earlier, and then she does Vichy. And so the next question is, it's not really spirit combat, it's a spirit attack that does all this stuff. But that's still spirit combat, right? And if they're doing spirit combat, can the defending player then do spirit combat to defend itself? And I'm thinking in my head, that makes sense. We should probably do that. And that would then also drain down her magic points so that her special intelligence attack doesn't do as much damage as well. So there's this kind of thing going on what's really happening and the mechanics behind it. But fire elemental's up, and the fire arrow goes off, and it's enough to take her. They did a couple of magical type attacks earlier. I forgot how. It's got to be the fire arrow. Maybe fire arrow twice or something. But second fire arrow, or the final fire arrow, takes her out. And so we were done. But again, that one ran really long. But it was the last game of the day, and people were hanging out, so there was too much issues with that. Fainting Spirit had 2 of those. And this is this hero quest thing. And the first one was my worst session of the entire weekend. I had a couple of players who had, that universal die. It rolls all different kinds of dice, kind of thing. You have to figure out how to read it. So they got their paper out and they're reading it and playing with the die, and they're kind of being distracted among themselves. And one of the players, as we went along, it was obvious to me that he had no interest in doing hero quest kind of stuff. You know, passion rolls and root stuff to do these things. It was not interesting him. Um, but that party, we do have a vignette thing at the beginning and with the queen, and they go back out and check what's going with the boy, and they run into the patrol, and they get to the fort, and there's the whole thing there. Um, and then they go to town. Both games, it's essentially the same sort of thing, right? And they get to town, and they check out what's going on with the clan heads and the clan hall with the frescoes and the verbiage. The first party had misunderstood part of the verbiage, and so it got to be a funny point at a certain place in the game. Uh, they went to take the knife, but when they did, I rolled for a reaction of the clan heads for the madness things going on every so often. Something changes, right? And they got violent and attacked. So I put the knife back and they settled down because I wanted to do this whole chase thing with the knife kind of deal, which I did in a previous game. So they take all the leaders, take them over to the Lightbringer Temple, put them inside, and close the door, and they go back with the knife. And then the girls go down, and it takes a while trying to figure out how to do this whole, do the worship ceremony, cut yourself and go through, and then everybody's got to cut themselves before they can go through. And it's kind of messy that way. But they get in, and they do the sacrifice of the runes. But the runes in the fresco show just the three: the earth rune, movement rune, and air rune. And so almost all the parties think we just need to sacrifice these three. So who's got the highest air rune? Who's got the highest earth rune? Who's got the highest movement rune? Okay, you three sacrifice. But everybody's got to sacrifice a rune. And so I'm thinking now that when you sacrifice a rune, the statue disappears for you, and you can continue on. And that way everybody knows that they've got to sacrifice, but they're still tied to this earth, air, and movement, that those are the only three you can do. But when they took the notes, the guy heard moon rune, not movement rune. But moon rune works, right? So both parties get through that without too much difficulty. Some make their rolls and others don't, but the little ones get through. They get in for the honor fight. One of them does. Is it Lost Door? I don't remember who the other one was. But they don't know it's an honor fight until they actually start. Okay, this is the mechanic we're using. It's spirit combat like, and it's opposed honor rolls. And while that's going on, the Daughters of Darkness show up and they try to interfere. The guidance given in the scenario is they try to do their mind game thing on the opponent. Enthrall. They try to enthrall on the opponent. And again, what's the range on your enthrall? It's not written down anywhere. Is it line of sight? Is it touch? Yeah, so I had touch, move up. They do the enthrall kind of stuff. One of the parties, the enthrall actually worked, and so the opponent was able to get a couple of hits throughout the scenario to do that. Again, the Daughters of Darkness, they don't have a whole lot of hit points. The first group nicked one down enough that she was down one arm, so she went to smoke and went to go heal. And then they killed the other one outright with a bloody battle or dagger axe, probably to the head. One of the parties hit a dagger axe to the head, take her right out. And the other one, again, whatever they did, took her out really quick. And one of the parties, they started to enthrall some of the other PCs, which kind of put a damper on them. But again, they killed her and they're done. Then the honor battle gets done, and they all go on. I did the spiel with the nymph. Everybody kind of plays through that. This is where it became obvious that one of the players had no interest in this kind of stuff at all. And then they end up in the room with the whiter, who's crazy, right? And one of the parties thought that the daemon was in fact bad. But the girls say, focus on your passion, focus on your loyalty, or love, and give it your magic. That's how she explains it mechanically, is your role of passion. And then you sacrifice magic points to it, and you're minus 5%. It says minus 10 in the thing, but the example they give for the girls is they're given 3 points, but they're only minus 15. So I did minus 5 per point, which makes more sense to me anyway. And one of the players did the difference of his passion to 50%. How many points? It was like 4 or 5 points, right? 4 points. Man, magic points. He was pumping into it, and he made a couple of those rolls. And so they healed that one up really quick, and it destroyed the loon. I do want to say that one of the girls, first it attacks the girls. There's always somebody by the girl, right? So the girl and who was next to him get attacked with the magic points plus the madness. And so that usually takes out somebody. In one game, it actually took out like I think it was 3. Got 2 or 3 of the PCs with the lunar madness thing. And if that gets rolling, then yeah, this loon is dangerous. But as soon as the loon showed up with the other party, they all turned to attack it. And in 2 rounds, he's gone. In fact, it was 1 round, 2 hits. Fasana and somebody else. I think somebody got special on it or something, but did enough damage in 1 round to take it out. And then, of course, you have all the time in the world to fill it up with magic points. So both of those were successes for this scenario in the game. All in all, I had a great time. Like I said, I had that one session that didn't go as well as I would have liked, but otherwise, everybody was great. I did have one fellow who's playing Vasana who was getting nailed by something, and I just caught towards the end of the combat. It was Darkness of Runegate. It was one of the brew. He's nailed by the large brew, and it wasn't towards the end of the combat. I was say he was keeping track of hit points on the bison, not on himself. 7 hit points on the leg? Really? Oh, that's your bison. And he tried to pull this. Well, I let him pull it. He pulled this deal where, okay, make your parry roll, and he parried with his sword instead of his shield in order to do damage to the weapon. Whatever. Some people do it that way. That's okay. But anyway, GenCon next year, I've got to better prepare my schedule and myself so that I can keep track of what we're doing and make some time for me to get over to the booth, because I had an hour in between my 2 sessions, and usually that was just enough, go to the bathroom, get a drink, maybe get something to eat. Not enough to go across all through the waves of people and try and get into see the booths and stuff. Because I always like to drop by the Chaosium booth, say hi to Ellie and that kind of thing. And then the Steve Jackson, I like hanging by, hitting their booth, and then just seeing what else is out there. Because I do like mats, and if you get like a hex mat with like generic terrain on it, I might get that. Anyway, happy gaming.